I'll be doing some paintings according to my vintage books. I have this small collection of 7 pieces that I would love to show you, and I have already done a little bit of selection. You can see it here of what motifs I would love to use as an inspiration. I got all of these secondhand. Most of them were, $1-2, and I think that these vintage botanical or books about animals can be such a great inspiration. I use them a lot when I don't know what to paint. I feel uninspired, but I want to, use my brush a little bit or get better in my drawing, because I paint a lot, but I do not do a lot of drawing. So these are great source when you're not feeling inspired. This is the first one. It is called the Atlas of Foreign or Exotic Plants, and you can see it here, I love using this one. It has a lot of foreign fruits and a lot of drawings. I always love when I find a book that has a lot of illustrations, because most of the modern ones mostly use photos, so these with illustrations are always a nice surprise. So I went ahead and chose this lotus plant that I love. I always love this little lotus seed, and I would love to try drawing it. Mandragora, my note from Harry Potter. I remember when I learned that it's an actual plant a few years back, after just thinking it existed in Harry Potter for 10 years of my life. So it is a real plant, and I think that this little guy could be very fun to paint. At the end of this book there are some nautical plants. I think this is a kind of kelp from the oceans, and I love the shapes. I think that these are super interesting, the way it branches out. This is another one. It's the National Audubon Society Field Guide to the Pacific Northwest, and I own more of the Audubon field guides, and I think whenever I find them in secondhand shops, I'm super happy. I have one about weather as well. I love this one about Pacific Northwest, even though I've never been there. Hopefully one day. And I don't think I'll be using this one today, but I love the photos, and I love that they're very small. I use them a lot of time in my sketchbook because, you don't get super occupied with details if you only have this one super small thumbnail picture. So I think these are good for references if you want to maybe get inspired by the shape, but build upon that, your own details, kind of make it more your own. Oh, there are some summer sky stars. This is a great one. This one is my treasure, and I use this a lot, even though it was $1, I believe, in a secondhand shop. And this is just an atlas of mushrooms, but it has beautiful illustrations, and it has a lot of them. And a lot of them are from Czech Republic. So when I look through them, I know some of them. And I went ahead and choose. This is the classic champignon. I think I'll put in the names of the plants here somewhere in the video, so you can maybe look at the pictures of them later. And I think I'll go with this classic Amanita. I love painting these. They always look good, I feel like, especially if you paint the a red upper part and then add these little white dots. I always think it looks super cute. Here you can see my little sun catcher doing its magic on my books. Another book that I love dearly and I use a lot, especially because it's called Our Plants. It's about Czechia. It's about the plants I know and I recognize, I think, most of them. I think that 80% of these I know, from nature, from walks, and I look through this quite often. It's mostly wildflowers, and the ones I chose is this classic, I think it's Clover in English, I believe. And I love, once again, I love painting these, especially because they're everywhere. You know, there's some motifs in my paintings like pine trees or these Clover plants that I, you know, see daily, and that's why they repeat as a motif quite a lot in my sketchbooks. And then I choose this red poppy flower. I love these, they grow everywhere. Here in Czech Republic especially, they flower at the beginning of summer, and it's such like striking view to see them every time. So these once again are something that, you know, has like followed me through my entire life, and that's why I love repainting this motif. I don't think I'll be using this one, but I wanted to show you just because I got it recently, and it doesn't have a lot of pictures, but it has them in these like pages that are just super full. It's about African animals and also plants. I absolutely love these pages that are full of birds. I love the composition when there's a lot of animals. I've done something very similar for my books that I've done a few years ago. This one's nice, and I got it for 10 Czech crowns, which is I think like, I don't know, $50. And it's very destroyed. And it's not even a book, but I love the way they did it. It's these little cards with animals, and it's a very Soviet book. It's like the print quality is awful, you know, but I love some of these photos. I think that these owls are so fun. I once again don't think I'll be doing them today, but it's a great tip, you know. I got this at like a garage sale. I remember just walking by someone selling some of their stuff at the flea market. So, you know, look around you, you never know what you might find. And this is the last one. It's the newest acquisition. I love it. I love the cover. I think it's like these vintage books covers. That looks, I'm such a sucker for these. It had a lot of pictures, like tons of pictures of everything, which I love because I don't have many books about insects, for example, and I might paint this moth. I really like it. I think if you put it on like this, I love how it's very neutral. I love how the colors of the moth are very neutral, and it's on this like very bright blue-yellow background. I think I might use it like drawing this, but putting it on some very bright colored background. Then, I was thinking I might do one of these birds. I love all of them. I love this one on this plant, but I think I might do this classic one. What's it called? Hoopoe? I'm not sure. It says the name here in English. I'll show you. I think it's this one. I don't know how to read it. And I love these. The last one. Once again, I'm not sure if I will do it today, but I love how this one is holding a little berry in his little beak. So that's it, and now let's get to painting. For the paintings I'll be doing here, I've decided to always start with an oval shape in a color, usually the color that is somewhere in the flower that I'm painting, but not always, you'll see, and then work in layers on top of that. The video ended up being quite long, so if I can, I'll try to timestamp the different sections of the different paintings. I'm working mostly with gouache that I like to squeeze into my watercolor pens and use them as I would use watercolor. The paints that I use and all the supplies will be down in the description. And if I want the gouache to be very thick and cover a certain area with light color, I use it straight out of the tube. In all of these little illustrations here, I finish them off with colored pencils.